Hey, what's up guys? My name's Nick. Welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be giving you guys tips to beginners about how to warm up. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. Alright guys, so tip number one is going to be to take this up the neck a little bit further. The reason being, the frets are smaller when you go up, so it's going to be less stressful on your hand. So as you play through, let's go to the 9th fret. So let's say you go up that and go back down. Right? Now you move down 1 fret and the stretch slightly increases. Such a small amount that you probably won't even notice. So then you do that repeatedly, moving down each time, and by the time you get down to the 1st fret, it's going to feel pretty natural and you'll definitely be warmed up. So tip number 2 is all about muting, alright? So you want to make sure that when you play, that left hand index finger is going to lay down a little bit. It's not going to stand perfectly straight up in this situation. Some situations, of course, yes. But for a lot of single note playing, and this one in particular, we want to let that index finger do some muting for us. Okay? So it's kind of laying down and taking care of some of that work for us by sitting like that. So now if you do this right, you should be able to play any one of these notes. I'll jump up to that 9th fret again. Right? And now I should be able to strum the whole guitar and only that 9th fret's going to come out. And you hear some clicks and clangs, and it's not pretty, but you're not hearing, right? All the notes aren't coming out. So really helpful tip that a lot of people just don't really realize is a thing, but you want to try and use that index finger to just gently rest on the strings, just touching them, not squeezing down and making notes, but just muting out those other strings. Okay, and a side note to there, you should also be working on that right hand mute. So try to place the knife edge of your palm just where the strings are coming out of the saddles, and experiment with having your palm not touching the strings at all to touching slightly, kind of right at the edge there, and then over the pickups. So you get this range of muting. And then the extra digits on your right hand can also be just gently resting on those higher strings while you play the lower ones, helping to reinforce the mute and really keep them silent. Alright, so tip number 3 is going to be finding the sweet spot in the fret. So when you go to play a note, I'm just going to go to the 5th fret on the 6th string, so follow me, right, and try to play along. If I'm in the back of the fret right here before, like I'm almost to the 4th fret, the note's going to come out still, but it's a little bit raggedy, right? It's a little bit buzzy. It doesn't feel that great to play, and it's not going to be that consistent. So what you want to do is slide up to the other side of the fret, the 5th fret almost to the 6th fret, right at that fret wire. I'm not on the fret wire, I'm not past it, I'm just before it. And that's going to be the spot where you're going to get the clearest note to come out the easiest with the least amount of pressure to push down. Okay, and another point about pressure, especially for anyone who's more of a beginner intermediate player, is you don't want to squeeze too hard. You want to be just touching that metal of the string to the metal of the fret wire, not trying to squeeze the note down to the wood. Then you'll actually make it go sharp. Alright, so when you just touch that metal to metal, what you're doing is essentially shortening the string, but it's staying at its tension, so you get a higher pitch. Science. Alright, so tip number 4 is going to be no lifting. So as you go through this, you're playing this, I'm going to go to the 9th fret again. Okay, notice that as I get to the 4th finger, I'm not doing like this walk through and switching them out, right? No switching out. We want to just build them up. So by the time you get to the 4th finger, you're reinforcing the notes that you're grabbing. And if you're going to maybe do some vibrato or bending, got some backup there for the pinky note. So again, no funny walk through the string, just trying to build it up. Alright guys, now that we're about to be 5 tips in, I'm going to just take a moment and ask you to please hit that subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I'm going to be going live or posting a new video, and let me know in the comments what you want to see in the next one. Alright, so tip number 5 is probably the most important tip just for guitar playing, and that's going to be to implement a rest stroke, okay? So if I just play that open string, we don't even need to grab anything to make the point of this. Just look at how I'm picking here. I'll edit that in there, I'll get a little closer. But alright, so to do a rest stroke, basically what you're going to do is pick through your string and rest on the next one. It seems obvious, right? But it's such an important thing, because what you're doing is you're telling your hand when to go back. If you don't do this, you're going to do this. You're going to stop just in the air there, and then hope to just turn back without making any extra noise and jump over that string and have things work out. And it's totally possible for that to work out, but I find that it's a lot more consistent and it feels better if you work out this rest stroke idea. So my best analogy for this, for better or worse, is to think about wrestlers in a wrestling ring. They run and they bounce off the ropes and it sends them flying back in the other direction. Now imagine if they were to like stop before the ropes, turn around, and go back the other way. Be kind of awkward and not the best use of their energy, right? So we want the same thing applying, the same concept applying to our pick. We're going to pick through, we feel where the 5th string is, and that's telling our hand when to go back. And that's really breaking it down into small pieces. And obviously when you're just playing riffs and soloing or whatever, you're not going to be thinking that way. But when you're in practice mode and you're analyzing, you know, hopefully every pick stroke and everything that you're doing, then that's going to stand out to you as something to work on and make sure is good. Essentially, when you do that, you're going to be informing your hand, okay, this is the stopping point, go back now. And as you work on that enough, that's going to happen like that, but it's still going to be there. You know, you're still going to have that frame of reference, keeping your picking and keeping your playing tight. And it also helps with rhythm too. It's just going to feel more natural. Okay, so tip number 6 is to practice this in groups that don't match the 1, 2, 3, 4 setup, right? So it's really easy to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But what we want to try to do is to go groups of 3 or groups of 5. So here's groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that might feel awkward because you're going to basically start each group on a different finger, but that's really good for you and your phrasing and your rhythmic and accent awareness. Alright, so then groups of 5, okay, it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. And again, that's just going to help you change up that natural desire to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Putting different accents in different places is only going to help you, so make sure you spend some time doing that. Alright, so tip number 7 is to add in a string skip. So here's what that's going to look and sound like. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying these tips. Please take a second and check out my Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can do so much to help support this channel directly. I truly appreciate it. And reversed. Alright, so it's obviously going to work on your dexterity and control. Another point with this one is to make sure you're doing that downward pick slant. So after 4 strokes, you've popped out of the strings and you're free to choose and jump over to a new string without being trapped. So if you were to have an upward slant, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're trapped behind that string. It's going to be really awkward, or less efficient, more awkward. It's not terrible, it can be done, but it's not going to be the best way to set yourself up, because you're going to have to do this weird jump over to the next string, and it's probably not going to go so good. But if you have the downward pick slant set up, very natural feeling. So keep that in mind. Alright, so tip number 8 is to go ahead and just come up with any short pattern that you can think of. making small variations to this and then sticking with them for at least a day or two of practice. So first example would be like taking 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, going 1, 4, 2, 3, right? That subtle change is going to confuse your fingers and present a whole new set of things to work on. Now, obviously, then you could say, okay, well, I'll just go through every permutation of 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe I'll do a video like that soon. And there's so many different options. But what you want to do is think beyond that even, right? So if you took 1, 2, 3, 4 and all those different ways you can do it, maybe leaving one finger behind on the bottom string. Right? Or maybe your concept goes between 2 strings. The possibilities are endless. Just make small tweaks to the 1, 2, 3, 4, choose something very subtly different, keep track of it, and work on it. Alright, so tip number 9 is to use a metronome. Right? And I almost can't believe I'm saying this because everyone should be doing this from the beginning, but so many people don't. And I think it's just a matter of being confused and not really being sure how to use one, right? And probably starting too fast. So get out your metronome. The one I like to use is, if you don't have one, check out this app. It's called, and I'm not affiliated in any way at all. This one's called Creative Metronome. I'll just take a screenshot of it and put it on the video because that doesn't look very good. But this Creative Metronome is really great because you can do some speed training stuff. But I'll just put it on at 60 so you can hear it. Right? If you're new to using a metronome, I'll just use the mic for the sound. I won't plug it in right now. Right? You count yourself in. 1, and I'm going to do the 1, 2, 3, 4 at the let's do the 9th fret. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what I notice with a lot of students is that beginner and advanced alike that are just not used to using a metronome, is it's hard to tell when you're supposed to play or what is the timing. So at 60, it can be a little bit spread out. What I would do then is go up to 80. And yeah, that's actually faster, right? But we're going to play with every other click. So we're actually playing slower. Now, this is going to be a good guide for you, showing you exactly what that middle point is in between the 2 notes that you're playing. All right, so here it is at 80, right? So it's actually faster, right? But what we're going to be doing is playing with every other click. So we're playing slower. So here it is. I'm going to play at the 9th fret, and I'll count us in like this: 3 and 4 and. So notice I'm still doing the rest stroke in there, and I'm also, I wouldn't always do this depending on the situation, but right now I'm kind of padding the strings on that 8th note in between, just to try to absorb that timing and that feel and that rhythm as much as possible. Okay, so in addition to using a metronome, this is kind of like tip 9A, right? You should use a drum machine or a drum app. 1 or 2 that I like. The first one's called Loop Z, or Loops. I'm not really sure. I think it's just Loops with a Z. But I'll put a screenshot up there. You probably see that right now if I'm editing. Okay, so this app is really cool because you're able to choose different styles, and you can change the tempo of the drum grooves, and there's different time signatures, and it's free to start. You can get like added packs and stuff like that, but mostly the free ones are totally fine and really cool. And then another one I really like is called Drum Genius, which is very similar. You can buy extended drum loops and packs, and you can change the tempo and the pitch, and there's lots of different feels and time signatures and styles, and that's really important compared to a metronome because there's going to be like a little bit of swing on some and all these little nuances that are hard to pick up on. They're just not there on a metronome. But when you play with a drummer, all of a sudden they're going to be there. You play with a band, that stuff's going to happen. There's going to be elements of swing and different little things that a drummer's going to do that you want to be used to playing along with, or at least have heard before. So, it's really great to use a metronome, but also use a drum machine for some of your practice. Okay, guys, before we get to the last tip, I want you to please hit that subscribe button. Let me know if there's anything else you want to see from me in the future, and keep an eye out for new videos on lessons, gear reviews, playthroughs of covers, and so much more. All right, so tip number 10, the final tip. This one applies to almost all guitar playing, not just this 1, 2, 3, 4 idea, and that is staying consistent. Do this daily. Set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes and write down the number you get to when you're done, and just do it no matter what. If you only have 5 minutes to practice and you're just like, well, I may as well not because it's only 5 minutes. No, this is what you should do. 5 minutes, and maybe you won't make progress every day or each week practicing like that, but it's a good way to at least, stay on top of your chops a little bit and make sure you're picking up the guitar every day so that when you do have more time, you're not starting from scratch again. So write those numbers down, and then in a week, see how much you've improved. It might only be 5 or 10 BPM. So write those numbers down and then check back in a week. Look at and compare your notes. Maybe you've gone up by 5 overall, or 10 BPM, or 20, or maybe you've gone down by 3 and you need to work a little harder and make sure you aren't skipping any days. But no matter what, over like a month, a 2 month, 6 month, and a year period, you're gonna see those numbers go up if you are staying consistent. So the number one thing, which is our number 10 tip, is to stay consistent. In the long run, over a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year of continually working on this and all the other different variations we talked about, you are gonna go up and you're gonna improve those skills. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for checking it out. If you're still here, I really appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what you wanna see in the next video. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.